Patrick Mahomes, the only Super Bowl winning quarterback left in the playoffs. The first time since 2006, there's only one Super Bowl winning quarterback left in the divisional round. Mahomes and the Chiefs looking to take care of business against Trevor Lawrence and the upset-minded Jaguars. It's an NFC East showdown in Philadelphia as the Eagles host the Giants. The Eagles won both of the regular season meetings. The Eagles have become the first team ever to defeat the Giants 3 times in a season. Break it down. Welcome in former NFL defensive lineman Leger Douzable. And Leger, take you back to the Eagles-Giants first meeting this season, Week 14, when the Eagles crushed the Giants 48-22. Philly recorded 7 sacks in that game, 4 on Daniel Jones, 3 on Tyrod Taylor. As a former player, Leger, you know how difficult it is to beat a team twice in one season. Now we're talking about 3 times. What's the key for the #1 seed in the NFC to not get tripped up?
Yeah, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, you stated it, Hakeem, when they played in Week 14, they dominated in the trenches. You talked about it, 7 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. And then on the offensive side of the ball, right, Miles Sanders had a field day running the ball, and so did Jalen Hurts, right? And he was efficient throwing the ball. When Wink Martindale decided to bring some pressure and go man coverage on the outside, he was able to spread the ball around to all his receivers and play really well. Well, if you look at Week 18, it was kind of the opposite, and it was kind of weird because the Giants were playing not even their backups, Hakeem and Larry. They were playing their threes, right? And the offense just didn't look in tune, right? Jalen Hurts, you could tell that shoulder still isn't 100% healthy, and you worry about that going into this playoff game because part of his legs is a big part of what the Philadelphia Eagles do. And in that game, there was times where he got outside the pocket, and before anybody could even touch him, he would get down on the ground. Now, routinely, you want your quarterback to be smart, but with Jalen Hurts being the physical specimen that he is, you worry about that because he's an exciting player being able to run the football. Now, he was able to throw the ball really well, but they had some miscues in that second half in regards to picking up some of that Wink Martindale pressure. Hopefully getting Lane Johnson back at right tackle kind of solidifies that offensive line, and they communicate when that pressure comes to pick it up. But if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, it's going to come down to your defensive line. They dominated the Giants' offensive line. You need more of that this week if you want to go ahead and get this win versus the New York Giants, because like you said, Hakeem, it's hard to beat a team twice. For 3 times, it's almost impossible to do. They have a real chance to do that and move on to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, Leger, you talk about that Week 18 performance there by the Giants, barely squeaking by there and losing to the Eagles. They're losing by less than a touchdown. Let's talk about Daniel Jones, though. Wild card round, played very well, threw for over 300 yards, ran for over 70 yards as well, so combined for almost 380 yards. How important is he with his arm and his legs here as they look to try to beat Philly here, the top of the NFC here this weekend?
Larry, he's massive. And I thought something that was interesting that Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator, and Brian Daboll did in that game versus Minnesota. Usually they're a run-based offense to set up the quick passing game and the play-action pass. But in that game, they flipped the switch, right? They threw the ball to set up the run game. A lot of easy reads for Daniel Jones, a lot of slants with hitches, and then crossing routes. That way Daniel Jones can see the whole field and know where to go with the football. Larry, you hit on a great point. Daniel Jones' legs is going to be massive in this game. If you look at the 2 last wins the Giants had versus the Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings, he had over 70 yards in both of those games rushing. Mike Kafka made it a point to use his legs, not only when he scrambled on 3rd downs, but they had designed quarterback runs for Daniel Jones. If you would have told me before that game that Saquon Barkley would only have 9 carries and 50 yards, I was like, well, the Giants must have been down big in that game. But they flipped the switch on Minnesota. They threw the ball to set up the run game. Now, adversely, if you look at what happened in Week 18, right, what has plagued this, Eagles defense is the run game and missed tackles. And with their backups, Gary Brightwell and Matt Breida, both of those guys averaged over 5.5 yards a carry. So I think that's something that Brian Daboll is going to look at. Now, his offensive line did get dominated. And if you're the Giants, you want to stay out of those 3rd and long situations. The best way to do that is stay ahead of the sticks and be able to run the football, whether it's with Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley or Gary Brightwell, and then be able to let Daniel Jones find one of his favorite targets in Isaiah Hodgins. But staying ahead of the sticks is going to be massive because if you let this defensive line from the Eagles pin their ears back, it's going to be a long day for Evan Neal like it was last time and a long day for their left tackle, Andrew Thomas.
Last time the Giants won in Philadelphia, 2013, Eli Manning was the quarterback. Now Daniel Jones looking to do the improbable. More than 70% of the tickets, though, are wagering on that to happen. Maybe not an upset, but at least to cover. You're getting 7.5, Leger. Are you also riding with the G-men?
I am riding with the G-men. I like them to cover. I don't know if they will win the game. If you look at it, the Giants are 8-1 against the spread on the road. Brian Daboll has his team ready to play on the road. They get physical and they run the football. And I talked about it earlier, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, more importantly, Jalen Hurts, the last 2 games he's played, he has 3 interceptions. 2 versus Chicago Bears, and then last week 18 versus the New York Giants, a ill-advised throw in the red zone that got picked off by Rodarius Williams. You want to be playing your best football as you're heading into the playoffs. Now, granted, he missed the 2 previous weeks, so there was some rust there, but still, the Eagles just have not been clicking on offense and defense like they were when they were 14-1 with Jalen Hurts earlier in the season. I like the Giants to go into Philadelphia and cover. I don't think they win the game, but I do think they cover. Give me the 7.5 with the Giants.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.